Right now, the man involved in a drunk driving crash that killed 3 area high school students is listening, awaiting his fate in court.
Plus, after nearly a year since the deadly Waukesha Christmas parade attack, Darrell Brooks is sentenced in court.
Also, Madison school district officials revealed their reason as to why they fired a former Senate middle school principal. Welcome to News 3 Now at 6.
The families feel this loss. I have to tell you, the community in Dane County feels this loss. You are not grieving alone.
A Dane County judge delivering empathy for the families of 3 teens killed in a crash before delivering a drunk driver's sentence this evening. Eric Maring's sentencing hearing is still going on right now.
Earlier today, the victims' family members shared emotional statements about everything Marin stole from them. Our Catherine Merck joins us to share some of those. Catherine?
It's been just over a year since Eric Maring drove well over the speed limit and killed those 3 teens in Middleton, named Simon, Jack, and Evan. Today in court, it was clear the heartbreaking memories from that night will stay with these families forever.
No parents has to go through this. No parents, ever.
After facing a nightmare, families of 3 teenagers faced the man who caused a crash that killed their 3 boys.
There is no part of our lives that this tragedy has not impacted. Our health, our work, our relationships, every single day.
These are emotions that fueled the families throughout the case and poured out during Eric Maring's sentencing Wednesday afternoon.
I'm traumatized. I'm lonely, and I'm constantly angry. I loaded my son into a cremation chamber, and that's not something I'm supposed to do.
Breath test results showed Maring was driving with 3 times the legal limit of alcohol in his system when he smashed into the teen's car that night in October 2021.
Mr. Maring made a lot of bad decisions that night.
And he could have chosen to stop drinking many times over the course of that night, and he didn't.
That whole evening was full of selfish choices that showed a complete disregard for human life.
Though Maring pleaded guilty to several of the felonies he faced, the families say the only way for him to face his consequences is a full sentence, 25 years for each of the lives he took.
I am sorry is a woefully underpowered statement for how I feel about my choices and my actions that brought us here today.
And it's impossible to forgive the pain he caused Jack, my daughter, my husband, and so many others who loved my son.
Maring could face up to 75 years in prison following his plea. Prosecutors dismissed 5 other charges as part of the plea deal, including 3 counts of second-degree reckless homicide and 2 counts of second-degree recklessly endangering safety.
We do understand he has just been sentenced to 18 years in prison. We will have more on this developing story tonight at 10.
After an emotional day of victim impact statements yesterday, today, Darrell Brooks, the man convicted of driving through the Waukesha Christmas parade, killing 6 and injuring several more, has been sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Earlier today, Brooks and his family made pleas for empathy, saying he battles with mental illness. Brooks talked for 2 hours straight, apologizing for his actions, but not taking responsibility for them. At one point, Brooks tried to turn around and address victims and survivors, but Judge Jennifer Doro would not allow it. Later on, Judge Doro said, in her opinion, mental health did not cause Brooks to do what he did.
It is very clear to this court that he understands the difference between right and wrong, and that he simply chooses to ignore his conscience. He is fueled by anger and rage. Some people, unfortunately, choose a path of evil. And I think, Mr. Brooks, you are one of those such persons.
A short time later, Brooks became belligerent and disruptive, causing Judge Doro to throw him out of the courtroom and into a different one. After the judge let him back in, Brooks immediately interrupted the court and was tossed out again, where he learned his fate.
Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti joining us now, tracking some snow showers that could slow down your Morning commute. Gary, what should we expect to see?
Yeah, it's possible. I think that they're more likely to occur tomorrow afternoon, but in the short term, it's just going to be cold tonight with a few flurries. As we take a look at Doppler track, the more persistent areas of snow showers that we saw earlier today have moved down into Illinois. The next batch that we're watching is still up in eastern North Dakota and northwestern Minnesota, so there's kind of a break in between. And right now across southern Wisconsin, there might be a couple of flurries out there, but for the most part, it's just cloudy and dry. 6-hour future track radar doesn't show any additional snowfall either. Other than perhaps a couple of flurries in a few spots. Current temperatures are right around 30 degrees here in Madison. We're at 30. It's 34 in Janesville, 37 in Lone Rock. But these temperatures will continue to fall through the evening and overnight hours. Look for those temperatures that are in the upper 20s now across Dane County and lower 30s, 32 right now in Edgerton and 30 up in Waunakee to fall into the upper 20s by late evening. Look for mostly cloudy skies, perhaps a flurry or two for this evening, but a little better chance for snow showers tomorrow. I'll time that out in Futurecast in just a few minutes, and then take a look at a big drop in temperatures toward the weekend.
Gary, thank you. A Madison police officer is free on a $2,000 signature bond tonight on domestic abuse charges.
Carrie House, who has been with the department since 2008, is facing felony strangulation charges and misdemeanor battery. Investigative reporter Naomi Coles joins us now. Naomi, what do we know?
So this is actually one of 3 separate unrelated arrests of Madison police officers over the past 2 weeks. Police officials are not saying much. We don't have much information yet about those other 2 arrests. So here's what I can tell you about Carrie House. Court records say he attacked a woman in a Columbia County home while she was laying in bed with her young daughter. The woman said House had been drinking all day before trying to strangle her while she was in bed. She fought to get away, and police said she had a red abrasion on her neck. House acknowledged to deputies that he had a, quote, physical altercation with her. This isn't the first time House has had trouble with the law. He was also suspended for 30 days without pay in 2013 after sheriff deputies said he fired his gun at a party while under the influence. MPD suspended him for violating department policies at the time, including firearm safety and unlawful conduct. Now, it's unclear right now whether House or the other 2 officers in separate arrest, whether they are on leave or facing any disciplinary action. In a brief statement, Madison police simply confirmed that 3 officers have been arrested. They were off duty. It was over the past 2 weeks, and these were all unconnected incidents.
Naomi, thank you. State Assemblywoman Janelle Branchin, the chair of the Assembly Elections Committee and a vocal critic of the 2020 election, has been barred from meeting with her colleagues behind closed doors. That's according to a letter obtained by News 3 Now, which says her fellow Assembly Republicans took a vote to prevent the Menominee Falls Republican from joining the group in closed-door strategy meetings or caucuses, saying her colleagues no longer trust her. This also comes after Branchin left early from last week's leadership elections, which saw Robin Voss elected to another term as Assembly Speaker. We reached out to Branchin's office for comment, but she was unavailable.
Madison school officials are standing by their decision to fire a former Senate middle school principal.
Now, this comes after a voicemail left by Dr. Jeffrey Copeland, the district called inappropriate, was uncovered. Tahlil Mohadeen joins us now to explain. Tahlil?
For weeks, the reason for Copeland's firing on late September was left under wraps, a district spokesperson calling it a personnel matter they couldn't comment on. But today, News 3 Now got records detailing the district's investigation and Copeland's push to get his job back.
Good morning. This is Dr. Copeland calling from Senate Middle School. Please give me a call for an employment opportunity.
That's the voicemail former Senate Middle School principal Dr. Jeffrey Copeland meant to leave for a prospective employee. But what he didn't know at the time was the recording kept going and caught a conversation he had with his colleague.
That's amazing. We're just giving people damn jobs. I didn't even, I'm like, he could barely communicate with me.
It was those comments about a candidate with a degree from the Dominican Republic that led the district to fire Copeland 20 days later. In the termination letter, Associate Superintendent Dr. Angie Hicks called Copeland's remarks extremely harmful and goes against the district's vision for creating an anti-racist school culture. When he was first fired, Copeland was not without supporters.
It's incredible to have a boss that has your back and you know it, down in your gut. I can show up, I can do what's right. I know I'm an awesome teacher. And I know this man has my back. And he was taken.
2 days after he was terminated, Senate Middle School staff took to a school board meeting demanding answers and praising Copeland.
We need someone that backs us up, that believes in the culture and believes in the Senate the way that we do. That was Dr. Copeland.
Dr. Copeland filed a grievance with the district trying to get reinstated with back pay or an agreeable severance with a full year's pay and a reference. He disputed MMSD's interpretation of the voicemail, stating there were no grounds for termination. The school denied the grievance, but additional reviews could come. Copeland's attorney didn't respond to a request for comment, but you can head to Channel 3000 for more details.